never expected it to even be on a DVD, let alone like festivals or anything, let alone like people getting tattoos of it, and dressing up like the characters. So there was so much I think I would have done differently if I had have known that. But at the same time, like maybe I would have overthought it, and maybe that's like why it had like a bit of that heart, because we weren't trying to make something that was like pretentious or like anything that it wasn't meant to be.
Today on the show, we are joined with Jason Lee Howden, the director of DEATHGASM. And exciting news, DEATHGASM 2 is in the pre-production stage for DEATHGASM 2 GOREMAGEDDON. And in this interview, we get a behind-the-scenes look of the original film and also all of the details going into its long-awaited sequel that the fans have been asking for. And speaking of fans, right now they have launched a Kickstarter to help fund this film and make it even extra epic. And looking at the incentives, if you are a major fan of the first film, you want to check this out. It goes from getting special edition DVDs all the way to actually being in the film, getting killed, having your name graffitied, logos, and so many fun packages that can get you pretty much into this movie, which is sick. Wherever you're listening to this episode, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, or our website, thecreativeimbalance.com, we will have the link to that Kickstarter page if you're interested. But until then, I hope you enjoy this amazing talk.
They're so relaxed, yeah, like it's like a different world. Like the film industry is just so high stress and just go, and like because I have a few professional musician friends, and they're just like so chill. It's like, oh my god, that
Yeah, almost like just like in the film world, like you're conditioned that time is money, and every second you're paying like maybe a crew of like 50 people and everything. It's a lot of like moving parts, and like, yeah, you got to make the most of it too. Like,
yeah, it's kind of great. Like I kind of love it. I love the it really suits some personality types. Like it's high pressure, lots of long hours, but just always like interacting, always doing something, which is really, really cool. But yeah, I've been doing it so long, I don't know what I'd do if I was like doing a real job.
yeah, definitely. And I gotta say, I love the hat. It's very on brand. I'm trying to
Who mold?
guess. Okay.
Oh, I should have got you to guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever seen the logo for Wolves in the Throne Room, but it's my
Oh
favorite shirt to
yeah.
wear, because even though I'm a fan, I don't know where the W starts. Like
No,
it's just
I
a
was
mess.
I was looking at their logo yesterday because they've got a new EP out, and I was like looking at it, and yeah, they're amazing, but it's like you can see the T there. You can make out the two mold if you squint, like those
Yeah.
magic eye pictures. But with the Wolves in the Throne Room, I'm just like, it's just tree roots, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. And speaking of awesome in metal, you guys are starting the pre-production for DEATHGASM 2, and I want to say I revisited knowing that I was going to talk to you. Like, I watched the movie a handful of years ago, but I revisited it yesterday, and oh my god, what a fun film, and just a love letter to not only metal but horror and comedy and all things at once. And yeah, this is like an exciting time to hear that you guys are about to make another one.
Hopefully it's sort of pre-production, because we're doing the the Kickstarter. We had a few false starts where we were like going through the usual routes of funding and getting in the New Zealand Film Commission here, which is like a funding body, which we're lucky to have, but
Mhm.
they're not really into horror. Like they sort of a bit embarrassed about like weird shit. They're more into their like sort of arts festival stuff, which is cool, but like so yeah, I mean, I love doing it this way. It's engaging with fans. It's kind of like a little bit terrifying, because you're sort of going out there, you're putting all your cards on the table and saying like, guys, like get behind it. But at the same time, it's sort of like democratic as well. It's bypassing, because whenever you're dealing with finances, there's always some weird like, oh, you can't do this joke, or you can't like have this kill, or you always get stuff like that. We need, we need you to cast my niece in this role. There's always some like, some strings attached. So,
Hmm.
if we can pull this off, I think we'll make the film how fans want it, without compromising, without, there's one scene in particular that every time someone reads it, they're like, you can't shoot this. This is crazy. And we're like, we're gonna.
Yes.
It's basically like, yeah, it's a lot of the sequel is, it's years afterwards. So there's some stuff like, I guess I compare it to like Gremlins versus Gremlins 2, where Joe Dante
Mm.
is like, all right, I'll do Gremlins 2, but I'm going to be like ultra meta and just like make fun of everything in Gremlins and just totally go, just go insane with it. And I've always loved that approach, poke fun at your own, your own film. And so there is like a lot of stuff where like, yeah, we do sort of take the piss out of the first film, and yeah, but not to over intellectualize it. It's a like a
Mhm.
bad taste, gross out horror metal splatter film at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah, and that's exciting to kind of hear that extra layer on it too, because obviously the film leaves with a bit of a cliffhanger, but just to know that your imagination is so much better, or like bigger, like bigger concepts, almost like and to almost make fun of it and have a scene where people are like, how are we gonna do that type of vibe, that makes it extra exciting.
Exactly. And I mean, I think looking back on it, if I knew so many people were actually going to watch the film, I would have done so much. Like, I wrote the first script in like a weekend, like when I was
Wow.
drunk. Like,
No way.
but I mean, because I never thought of it as like this is going to be a real thing. It was just I was burnt out on VFX. I was working on the third Hobbit movie, and just this opportunity came up. It's like a competition, like make my horror movie competition, and you get $200,000 to make a movie. And I was like, dude, I mean, I was making short films and music videos. It's like, I'll have a bit of that.
Hell
But I
yeah.
never, I guess it was always just like, this is just for fun. It's not like something that, it's something that me and my friends might like watch in a garage someday. It's not, you know, I never expected it to even be on a DVD, let alone like festivals or anything, let alone like people getting tattoos of it, and dressing up like the characters. So there was so much I think I would have done differently if I had have known that. But at the same time, like maybe I would have overthought it, and maybe that's like why it had like a bit of it had like that heart, because we weren't trying to make something that was like pretentious or like anything that it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, it's very it's very coinciding with like a lot of metal bands, I think, too, where I find like a lot of people are making like extreme metal, like knowing it's like a passion project. This is not going to be on the radio, but every once in a while, like one of these bands pop off, and next thing you know, they're at Wacken Festival playing in front of like 100,000 people. And I feel like that's kind of might have been like comparable, like hearing your I don't know, like just how laid back you went into making this as like something fun to do because you like metal, because you like horror and comedy. And obviously it's like just resonated with other people, who many other people who enjoy that shit as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great time for extreme. I grew up. The first metal bands I listened to were like, Cannibal Corpse, Obituary, Deicide,
Mhm.
and now just seeing, the resurgence of like death metal and black metal, and just seeing like people doing really cool stuff with it outside of like, and I think that's due to like the internet has really made it like, if you're into stoner metal or if you're into any sort of like genre of metal, there's a community now. Whereas like
Mhm.
before, it was everyone just listened to like Pantera, or everyone just listened to Slayer. It was very like new metal. And now it's just like everything. There's something for everyone, and it's yeah, it's amazing. And people doing like really weird stuff, like black metal mixed with like roots, or mixed with like Asian influenced music, like Matt Heafy was doing with his side project. It's yeah, it's just like so such a great time for people just to like experiment and have fun. I mean, it's I think it's harder to make money now. I'm guessing like there isn't that thing where people were you know Ozzy Osbourne was like a millionaire by the time he was 18 with Black Sabbath. You know, I'm not sure if
Yeah.
that's happening as much.
Even it's interesting. Just my last episode that I posted was actually with Cannibal Corpse, and
Oh,
then
dude, really?
and yeah, and then revisiting the movie yesterday, just seeing the posters on the wall and stuff. I'm like, this is an accidental sequel to that interview I did.
Oh,
But
dude. I
yeah,
mean,
and yeah, I
oh,
was
you
gonna
go.
say I heard they really enjoyed the film too, and you got like some feedback from it.
Yeah, I chat to George quite a bit. Like he's just such an amazing guy. It's like I love seeing his social media because he's just like, you know, he just like sings this extreme dark shit, and then he goes hangs out with his kids, and like he's like really into Christmas. He's like decorating his
Yeah,
Christmas tree, and like he's probably decorating it right now. He's just like it's just, you know, it's I sort of think like it's the people that can wear their that dark side on their sleeves and, you know, out in the open, sometimes the most normal wholesome people out there. And then, you know, it's the people like Alan or Jimmy Kimmel that like you have to worry about.
dude.
um
Yeah,
but yeah, he's great. I mean, they're such a massive. They were like, we used to listen to like, you know, Tomb of the Mutilated and Butchered at Birth when we were like 13, and just would read the lyrics and just freak out, like what the hell. And I remember like I had a Butchered at Birth like poster when I was at boarding school, and like the farm boys and jocks like ripped it up, and just they were so offended by it, and I loved how it had that reaction. Like people were just like, you know, this is so, we don't understand this, and it just made me feel like, you know, this is, I'm a part of something that is outside of like the normal world. And I just yeah, so there's like lots of like Cannibal Corpse references in the film, like the hammer smashed face, and yeah, like, and just little nods all over the place. Zach was meant to be wearing like I think like for most of the film he's wearing a death shirt. He was meant to be wearing like, I think, a Butchered at Birth shirt, but we couldn't get doubles for like the blood, because you need doubles when you're doing filming. It's like there's they have to be like washed and reset with the blood and everything. But yeah, I mean, yeah, so it's just it's massive being able to like chat to people like that. And like you know, I was in a band in the 90s. I'm like a failed rock star, so it makes me feel like a little bit cool, like chatting to like people from the metal world.
oh hell yeah, like making a movie like this too that is just unapologetically metal, it, like makes you just part of that community too. And I'm sure like even all those guys like you mentioned, like Corpse Grinder, like watching it, enjoying it, giving you feedback. Another thing I appreciated about the first film is hearing like the soundtrack, and a lot of like maybe bands other people don't know, or like just quality stuff that's a little under the radar. And
Yeah.
one was the multiple times I love that you put Skullfist in, because they're my local band in
Oh,
Toronto.
really?
Yeah, yeah, and they're just amazing and
I know,
criminally
right?
underrated. And
I know they should be huge. I mean, I think it was just amazing that we got them on the soundtrack, because it needed some of that like, it needed some of that like that pure, you know, heavy metal
yeah,
sound,
this
you
80s
know.
feel.
Yeah, and there's just something about, I think like at the time I was like going out, I was like trying to hustle like songs from like Iron Maiden and Metallica, and in hindsight it's like if we had have had that soundtrack, it just wouldn't have been as good. It was, I think it was better having like indie bands on it. Like it just like, and I think we're going to do the same with the second soundtrack as well. Like it's, you know, it gives, I think there was a Netflix like metal movie recently, and you know, the soundtrack's like, you know, what you expect, like, you know, Pantera, Metallica, Sabbath, you know, ticks all the boxes. But at the same time it's like, it's just, you know, it's, I think there's just so many like metal fans that when they're like, well, my local band's on there, you know, like there's a gore grind song on there, they just like, it makes it feel like it's not as phony, you know. It's like these guys actually, you know, curated it. And the great thing on the first film is like I chose the entire soundtrack, like no one said don't put this song on, and which was completely different to my second movie, Guns Akimbo, where I had like almost no say in the music,
Yeah.
because there was more money involved.
Yeah, that's super cool. And even one thing, even though like I was familiar with Skullfist, I also enjoyed like hearing a song and being like, this is cool. I don't know who this is, and actually waiting for the credits to roll and just be like, oh yeah, I think, and just seeing like a bunch of new bands, and you even had like all the logos at the end too. I thought that was so cool to almost like give back to like the community and like working
Yeah.
bands.
Yeah, I mean, it's, it was so low budget. It was really like just me basically like begging people for tracks, and we're hoping to do something different with like the sequel and get it released on a label. So there's like royalties, get like a digital and a vinyl and a CD release, because I think the first soundtrack was only released on vinyl, but like hoping to like do it maybe with a metal label. So there's like there's a system for like people getting like royalties and everything. It's that part's always like so the whole music licensing thing is such a clusterfuck, like, and there was
Hmm.
a lot of bands that were like, would love to have a track on your movie, but we don't own the rights. It's with like, the label owns our music, and we literally can't. So it's yeah, there's all these separate things. I'm sorting out licenses for a bigger film at the moment, and in the like, I won't say what band it is, but they're like the sync rights are like, I think literally $500,000 to like $750,000, and I'm like, holy shit, like it's and I'm like, it's so different from Deathgasm, where I'm like, it's more of a, it's yeah, it's a heavy metal musical, but like it's I'm not sure I should announce it now, actually. Anyway, but like
Yeah.
it's such a different world, because like, and I love those legacy bands, but it's just kind of like, it's just crazy amounts of money, and also I get like a migraine when I'm dealing with like lawyers and contracts and stuff. I'm like, sort of easier to like get someone else to like sort that side out for me.
Yeah, and it's cool to hear you talk about this stuff too, because like a lot of people like watch a film and that's like a consumer doesn't even think of all these layers of how it gets made, and even like maybe they'd be like, oh, why wasn't this band on here and stuff like that. It's such a big deal, and it's almost like hard as, I don't know, personally, as like I feel like a more creative brain type of person to kind of handle with those business situations too. It's like the last thing I want to put my energy in, and it's when it turns the fun into like actual like
Yeah.
real hard work and everything.
Yeah, and I think a lot of band people like sort of like don't like doing that as well. They leave it up to like, managers and labels and stuff, which is totally understandable. It's but yeah, I mean we're still like yeah, I mean I think we're going to assemble a really good soundtrack. I like writing in like inspirational songs on scripts, which like producers hate, because they're like, they just see dollar signs, and I'm like, I love giving someone who's reading a script the vibe of like, when I'm reading a script and it's got like songs written in it, I chuck them on. I listen to them while I'm reading, and I really get the vibe for whether what's happening with the script. And it all changes in the edit room, but
Hmm.
yeah, like and yeah, that's the fun part. The most fun part of making the first film was like dealing with all the music side, even though it was yeah, it was kind of crazy. I was trying to get an Enslaved song for the scene where they like slow motion dildo fight, and I was like, I've been calling like Scandinavia at like 4 a.m. in the morning from my hotel, and hundreds of dollars in like phone fees, and it was yeah. But I sort of got obsessed with like this one track, and but yeah, I mean it's yeah, I think like it's going to be fun doing that, and also just like having, we've been have had so much support from bands like sending us t-shirts, like Middle Blade Records sent us a big like a huge box of just like t-shirts to use and
Oh,
posters to
amazing.
use, and they were just so cool, just like yeah, just, and it just helps so much, because like when you're dealing with like a budget, a low budget film, it just, every little thing, anywhere you can save a few cents is so important.
Yeah, even with the cast, like the main characters wearing different metal shirts too. Like I didn't know that layer where they sent you the shirts, and that's got to be a blessing. You don't have to worry about like clearing the logo. Like I know there's like a Trivium shirt and stuff like that, and just that's super cool. That's
Yeah, I
that you
didn't
had
I
that
mean,
backing.
I was so naive. And it's like you get into some crazy conversations with like licensing. You know, we had a Rambo poster in Guns Akimbo, and we wanted to like have Miles. I'm getting all confused. Daniel Radcliffe's character accidentally shooting them, and they're like, "You're allowed to shoot the poster, but you're not allowed to shoot the image of Sylvester Stallone." So the bullet has to go like away from him. Like, well, that's not funny.
Yeah, that misses
But
the point of the joke type of thing, you know?
yeah, but they were going to charge us a lot more money to be able to shoot Sly in the poster. Maybe he just feels uncomfortable with it. So fair enough. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it gives it so much more like it gives the world so much more life, being able to put lots of posters up, stickers, patches. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely like a love letter to heavy metal. And I think it's cool, like even with the Kickstarter too, you guys giving incentives to donors and stuff. Do you want to like kind of explain the Kickstarter for people listening?
damn, I'll try. I'm like a lot of it's been set up by our amazing producer Andrew Hunt at Raven Banner, who's just been like just going hard. And it's so great to have Raven Banner behind it because like they mocked up like a lot of the rewards, but they're a distribution company that like people know that they can come through with that. They produce awesome physical like releases and amazing like from t-shirts, and they did like an awesome Deathgasm 1 release with like this really cool art from Riddick, who's like designed for like Slipknot and I think Cannibal Corpse as well. And so it's like really cool to have those guys like on board and like everything that people see that we can come through of it. We're not just like putting stuff out there into the world. But yeah, I mean we're basically just like we've got a lot of rewards. There's I should actually have the page up to actually remember them, but like yeah, I mean it goes from like like digital releases. Like there's I think the bottom reward is like a thank you credit in the film, and then there's like packages of like t-shirts, DVDs, which I'm not sure if they're all like yeah, I mean if anything wants anything like signed by me or defaced, I'll
Yeah.
I'll be down for that. It always feels weird like signing stuff, but yeah. And then there's some more fun ones as well. Like there's one where one of the rewards is like we will kill you on screen. Like you'll have an on-screen death. So
Amazing.
yeah. And
That's a lot of
which
people's dream, like, to be
yeah,
in a movie and just get killed.
I think that's awesome. Like I if I was I mean I might buy one of those myself and like kill myself off on
Yeah.
film. um we've got like some of the props and wardrobe from the film. Your name graffitied in the movie. Yeah.
Oh,
So
fire.
so that's a cool thing to do, like because that also it's one of those like little Easter eggs, that's quite easy to like have in the background, like a spray painted. I think your picture shot in the movie. So anyone that gets that reward, like you've got to realize that we might make fun of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your name's said in the movie. I mean, it's just cool stuff, and like
So cool.
yeah. I mean, I'm always down for that. Like I remember like when I was a kid, I saw it. I had the 70s magazine that was came out after the first Star Wars, before Empire, and they had a competition that a kid could like the winner of the competition got to design a droid for Empire Strikes Back. And
Ooh.
I've always wanted to like research on like what droid that was, or if they actually came through with it, or they just like gypped some poor kid like designed a droid and got like like screwed
Yeah,
over.
George
But
Lucas
like
is like, this droid sucks, and just throws
yeah,
it in the garbage.
yeah, yeah. Like I mean, but if that did happen, like because the competition was way, this is in the 80s, I read it, but I'm like, man, that's amazing. Imagine if some kid got to do it. That's they could tell their grandkids like this droid was in Empire Strikes Back. So it's yeah, I always thought that was like kind of a cool thing because it breaks down the wall between the audience and the filmmakers.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean we're just all like fanboys as well, so we're totally into that stuff.
Yeah, I love it too. And like just especially like for a fan to be able to not only contribute but have a little moment that they can look back on forever type of thing. And yeah, I think it's such a cool way to just bring something like metal that already feels communal to make it a little extra communal like that. It's like we're making this together, guys, type of thing.
Exactly. And it's like I sort of also see it as like, there's like the rewards and everything, but it's almost like everyone that's involved is like a producer in some way. They're like it's that they are, they're a part of the crew. They're a part of the, if we can get like the movie made, they're a part of that legacy. And it's yeah, I mean the great thing about the first movie, it had like you know a fan reaction that I didn't really expect, and it's almost like I haven't seen the film for like since 2015 myself, because I saw it a million times, and it almost belongs to other people now. Like we have like there's pockets, little communities. There's one community where they like shipping Zach and Brody and like having this like homoerotic art where they all and like stories and stuff. And I mean, I just love it because it's like they've taken something I did and made it their own. And it's like, it's like, man, it's just like I never like expected that it would have that effect on people, but it sort of gives, it's they love like writing these stories and drawing this art, and I'm totally down for it. It's like, oh, I almost wonder if I missed like an obvious, like that would have been like a better twist. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it's so cool. Like people post like tattoos, and it's like Jesus, that's amazing. And it's just, I think the best thing is like I get messages, people like, I was having a shit day, I was feeling depressed, and I watched your movie and it cheered me up. And that's such a, I really admire people that do real stuff in the world, like not making movies like, people that like therapists or doctors or firefighters, and that can actually make a change in someone's life. And I just make stupid movies, but it is cool to know that like some people got that out of it. And
Mhm.
movies are my comfort food. Like when I'm down, I'm watching like mainly like 80s stuff. Like I can always pop on like Reanimator or Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Return of the Living Dead, and instantly my mood changes. It's like affects the chemicals in my brain somehow. So it is really like, yeah, it's cool that people can get that out of it.
Yeah, definitely like such a powerful art form, like you said too. And like sometimes it's just even if you got like a lot of bullshit going on in your life, you can turn on like a movie or play some music or play a video game, and it's that's the power of art too. And it's awesome to kind of hear that how much feedback you get from Deathgasm, because even yesterday as I revisited too, I was kind of having a feeling of angst in my chest of got a lot of going on this week, and I just turned it on, and like for an hour and a half it was just like I'm just laughing and smiling. It's so dope. And yeah, I'm excited that you're making a sequel to this, because obviously like it was just a fun ride, and let's keep it going. It's
Yeah,
fucking
totally. I mean,
awesome.
it's I tried to articulate that like when Brody is trying to explain to Medina on the park bench like the appeal of metal, because I don't think a lot of people understand it. Is like
Mhm.
you're feeling shit and you listen to a song where someone else is like angry, and it's like that should make you angrier, but instead it makes you feel, oh, someone else is going through some shit, and it's not just me, I'm not alone. And it gives you a sense of like belonging, and that your emotions aren't something that you're just feeling. And that's always what metal's been for me, and why I refuse to, even in my 40s, refuse to grow up, because it's sort of like something that's my tribe. I think you're at growing up in New Zealand, like I don't know what else where else I belong, but when I got into horror and metal, it felt like I belonged somewhere. And it's and yeah, it's and it's extra cool these days with the internet, where those communities can really interact more, because like back in the day it was just like Fangoria, you know, that was there wasn't really many places that you could meet like-minded people.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful thing. And yeah, that kind of like when I was talking to Alex of Cannibal Corpse the other week too, I was even just thinking this guy's like such a kind and gentle soul. And I said to the publicist, the heavier the music of the people you send me, the kinder the person. And again, it's like that outlet they have. And today I did another interview around. I talked to this lady. She's a voice actress, and she does this character for the latest Street Fighter game. And the
Oh wow.
character is an absolute crazy bitch. But then I'm talking to this lady, and just the kindest soul. But it's like that people like it, whether it's metal or like an actor doing something nutty, it's like that's kind of like such a healthy release and therapy type of thing to just, I don't know, for your life.
I think you really get it when I go to metal festivals, as opposed to when you go to a festival which has like other bands, you know, like electro bands or indie bands or pop bands. Like the mood there is like, you know, people are in this pit and someone smaller gets knocked down, everyone just like goes up and pulls them back up. Whereas like, you know, you go to like, I've been to festivals where people are just drunk and causing fights and just acting shitty towards one another. But whenever I'm at a metal festival, I've never had any issues with people. You know, it's apart from the crowd killing thing at hardcore shows, I hate that. That's bullshit. I got like sucker like punch in the back of the head at this like hardcore show. I'm like, that's not like what the mosh pit's for. The mosh pit isn't for like victimizing people. It's for like getting your anger out in this like communal way, and like, you know, picking each other up, like and having fun, not hurting other people. And I think that's yeah,
for sure.
I actually got my doctor told me not to mosh anymore.
Oh no.
I did a calf tear when I was in LA at a Melvin's gig. And it was the day before I was going back to New Zealand, and I didn't want to go through the American healthcare system. So I like limped back to the airport with my leg like just stuffed. And my doctor's like, I did in New Zealand, you have to apply for like ACC, which is like the government like subsidized healthcare. And they're like, you have to write what you did on the form. It's like, I was moshing. And my doctor's like, what is moshing? And
what's a mosh?
I explained to her, and she's like, yeah, you shouldn't do that anymore. You're too old.
Oh, well, multiple times I said I came into mosh pit retirement, but yeah, it's I keep going back in, you know, man. It's just sometimes the vibe is just in the air, and it's almost like it can't escape you when it's part of you, type of thing.
It's one of those things that I always get in there. It's I don't have the stamina anymore. I need to like go get a drink of water after like 5 minutes. I'm just like just too old and and feeble. But yeah, I mean I love it. It's
Yeah, I totally relate. And man, I just want to say it's cool to pick your brain on the sequel. Like I absolutely love the first one, and exciting to hear all these like little details, and especially around the Kickstarter. We're going to continue to share it, and hopefully other passionate people about the film can jump on that and support, and even maybe get in the movie. That's so awesome. But yeah, I just want to thank you for your time today. And like I mentioned, we'll continue to share, and hopefully when it's released, we can have another conversation again about it.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much for having me, Sean.
Thanks again to Jason for this amazing chat about Deathgasm and heavy metal culture. I selfishly had so much fun in this, and I hope you had as much fun listening to it. Like we mentioned, Deathgasm 2 has a Kickstarter page right now. You can check that out and all of its incentives in the description link of wherever you found the show, may it be YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, any major listening app, our website, thecreativeimbalance.com. I think it's so cool. Not only a way of funding to make the film extra special, but to bring in the fans, chop their fucking heads off, you know? It's so fun. And yeah, just the communal aspect, like we talked about. That's what heavy metal's all about. And speaking of communal things, I can't leave without thanking all you wonderful people who have joined their Patreon page. And first up, we gotta thank my boy Mike Carniello of the Testing with Mike YouTube channel. If you're into gadgets, technology, electronics, how they work, and how to fix them, check out the Testing with Mike YouTube channel. Also, the lovely Amanda McKnight of Top 10 Nerd, Beyond Top 10 Nerd. She has her own personal channel as well that celebrates comic books, video games, and all things nerdy. Another shout out to the wonderful Jenny Potter, the legendary Devin McBride, Ryan frickin' Campbell, my favorite soul singer, Saber, and last but not least, Francis Coffer, aka my mom. If you want a shout out at the end of every episode and also get all of these episodes early, raw, and uncut, you can go to patreon.com/The Creative Imbalance. And beyond having my thanks, you can go to bed at night, sleep soundly, knowing you're a badass motherfucker who supports raw, uncut, independent media. And nobody can take that away from you. You hear me? All right, this has been a fun one. Got a lot of episodes for you. Holy shit. I'm gonna be living on my computer editing all these, but I'm also so happy. One of these is like a dream talk of mine, and around that, it's just a bunch of cool shit. We're blessed to be so active and having so many great PR people sending me some really, really cool things that I get to share with all of you. So once again, I hope you enjoyed this one, and we will catch you next time. Ciao!